Alhamdulillah, I'm feeling very well, thank you, especially with the lovely weather that Allah's blessed us with.
Alhamdulillah.
So, it's great to have you in. First of all, I'd like to say welcome to Gloucester. Also, I know you've been here for 2 weeks, for a good 2 weeks now, but officially, welcome to Gloucester, welcome to Gloucester FM.
It's funny because the day I moved to Gloucester, that's the day the sun came out. So I wouldn't praise myself and say I brought the good weather, but yeah, I've been lucky.
So, obviously, I understand that obviously you were brought up in Gloucester originally.
Well, actually, I was brought up in Leicester.
I see.
But my mum's family, they're based in Gloucester, so she would bring me over on the weekends, school holidays, bank holidays. So I spent a lot of time with friends in Gloucester.
Okay, so you're familiar with the landmarks, like, you know, the docks, you know...
Not all of them, but some of them. And obviously we've got a friend of ours here in the studio, Saj. He was a good friend of my cousin Umar Pando, and so they took me around a few places to visit and things.
Hey, good to have local connections. Right? So before you came into Gloucester recently, you was based in Hull.
That's correct. Straight after graduating from Islamic University in Leicester, I decided I didn't want to waste any time and applied for an imam job, which I applied for, which is based in Hull, a mosque in Hull, Hull Jami Mosque. And I stayed there for roughly 4.5 years, and I served as an imam and madrasa teacher. But obviously alongside this, I was engaged in community work as well, which built up my confidence. Then it gave me the opportunity to come here and serve a much larger community.
I see. Now, I'm just going to rewind a bit further back and just talk about, you know, how you got to be an imam.
Well, I studied at a secular school until the age of 16. After my GCSEs, I had a choice either to go to college and continue my secular studies or enroll into an Islamic university and focus on the Islamic side. And I always had that passion and drive within me to become an imam and to become a Muslim scholar. And so at the age of, I think it was just before I turned 17, I enrolled into the local Islamic university, and I was studying for 10 years.
Wow.
The first 3 years I spent in memorizing the Quran, and then after the third year I decided to continue my studies and joined the Islamic Sharia course, the Sharia course, which spanned over 7 years. And that's what turns a child into a grown-up adult, because you're spending years under the guidance of qualified, well-known, well-educated and pious scholars. And that's what built me really.
I see. Now, once you go on to that, you know, to study those courses and under that tutelage, obviously there are many directions that one can go. You know, you could either, you know, decide to, with that education, as to go up in business or set up an institution as such. You know, there's various directions. So, what made you decide how you wanted to become an imam?
I think it's to first of all benefit myself. We all need to work on our own selves, and then to serve the wider community. It's always nice to build good community relations within one's community and get people to think the right way.
You see, and whether did you have any inspirations to kind of go in that direction?
I wouldn't say I had much inspiration. I think it was the availability of being able to enroll yourselves into an Islamic university based in your own city. So if the facilities are provided, then some would always tend to go down a route. So if businesses are open in a city, most likely people would think from the business aspect. And if mosques are available, people would tend to visit the mosques. If Islamic universities are available, people would feel slightly keen on enrolling into an Islamic university. So the facilities were there in the city of Leicester. It's a well-developed city, I'd say.
Now, going to your time in Hull, 4.5 years you were there, what were your most memorable moments there?
My most memorable moments, I think it's the Friday prayer. That's the moment you get to pass on relevant information to a large audience. So we call them the congregation. So the congregation on average was between 300 to 400 people. So you're able to pass on message to 400 people who would then go home and pass on that message to their family and then probably to the workplace and pass it on to the friends. And obviously our societies, we face several issues. So all the issues we're facing, I would talk on those topics, give a conclusion to those topics and encourage people to pass that message on. So if there's any evil taking place within society, that evil could be removed and it could turn into good.
I see. And when you delivered your sermons on the Friday, did you always deliver them in English, or would you mix it up with Arabic or Iqra?
Generally, most mosques, how they work is that the first 20, 25, 30 minutes, you would talk in a language, preferably, which people are familiar with. So the majority of the population attending the mosque was speaking and understanding the English language. That was their first language. So I would deliver a talk for roughly 20 to 25 minutes in the English language, and straight after the call of prayer is made, I would deliver the Arabic sermon, better known as the khutbah, in the Arabic language, which would last roughly 10 to 12 minutes, and then obviously we concluded the prayer and that's.
I see. And because I understand that you was also involved in outreach work while you was in Hull.
Definitely, I was working very closely with the BBC Radio Humberside, and they would invite me onto shows during the week. So if it's a case that came out in the media, a hot topic, they would usually call me in and ask me for my view. If they had a religious program on a Sunday, or they wanted me to come in as a local priest to give a translation or an interpretation of a saying of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, then I would always attend and look forward to the opportunity. So I worked very closely with the BBC. Alongside this, I was also sitting on the Children's Safeguarding Board for Hull City Council. And in the second year in Hull, the NHS contacted me, asked me to deliver a training day to teach their staff on Islamic rituals, such as ablution, what to do after an individual passes away, the procedure after death, etiquettes of entering a home, how to deal with a Muslim patient in hospital. And that went successfully well. It was a 6-hour training which I provided for them. I got other Muslim professionals on board who had in-depth knowledge. And then because that went well, other public sector organizations got in contact with me, and then before you knew it, I was delivering these services to most public sector organizations, including charities and others.
And that sounds like some really great work in terms of obviously educating people about Islam and helping to shape government policy.
Well, I can give you an example. Just I had to cancel a few shows because I was moving down to Gloucester, and the Humberside police had got in contact with me, and they said to me, because within the Muslim community at large, there is a huge problem with issues such as domestic violence, honour-based violence. Our officers are not aware of etiquettes when entering a home. If you could train our officers every couple of months, a group of 20 different police officers, we would be grateful. That tells you there are issues within society which need tackling. It's not just Muslims who need training, it's also the wider community who need training on these type of issues.
I see. Now, now in terms of obviously reaching out to the public sectors and other organisations, were you involved in any activities in the other wider community?
Such as?
Like the general public.
Are you talking about open days or with schools?
Yeah, like things like that.
I never really got to run an open day at the mosque, but I always kept the doors of the mosque open for anybody and everybody, because at the end of the day, the mosque is a community-based project. It's there for the wider community, for people to ask questions and to receive help. And we know this day and age, every single individual in our society is struggling with some sort of issue, whether it's depression-related, suicide-related, or whether someone's engaged in the act of homosexuality, or people are struggling to bring up their children. There are issues, so people are able to knock on the door, come to my office, and I would give them the necessary help.
I see. Now that you're in Gloucester, obviously there's work, there is work to be done. Obviously, what are your plans? What is part of your manifesto, in Gloucester?
You're making me sound like David Cameron, but anyway. I think my immediate plan over the coming weeks is to continue with a charity which I was running in Hull. And the charity, I named it Fill 'em Up. And the aim of this charity was to ask the local community to bring in food items or to donate money. With that money, we would prepare food parcels and deliver it to the very needy people within the city. So initially we were helping one or two, it's me and my friend, we started the project, we were helping 2 individuals, and before you knew it, people were giving their money, people were giving their hard-earned cash to us based on trust. So when this money was coming in, we were able to help more than 2 people. So before you knew it, we were helping over 30 to 40 people. And we weren't restricting who we were helping anybody that was in need based on no discrimination. So we were helping a charity called Mind, which is a mental health charity. We got in contact with the Salvation Army and other individuals who we came across who we thought of as being poor or needy. We delivered the food parcels to these needy people. So I want to start up this project based in Gloucester and help the needy people within the city, and I'm sure they're out there.
Yes, certainly. I mean, we've got the Salvation Army down the road. We have gear as well. I believe actually 2 years ago we had a interview with some of the Gloucester City Sisters, who basically went into I believe gear to basically cook some food like biryanis and things, for the homeless.
So what you could do is maybe pass on my contact details or pass on this information to your contacts and ask them if anybody wants to get engaged, involved in this type of community project and want to help me build up this charity and show me the way, because obviously people are more experienced in the city of Gloucester. I've only been here a couple of weeks, so maybe they can give me that right direction.
Of course, inshallah. And in respect of outreach work, like appealing to the wider community, what are your plans in that respect?
I think it's to make myself approachable. I think as an imam, it's very, very important to become approachable. If you're not approachable, when people need that advice and guidance, if they're approaching the wrong people, or maybe let's say they're gaining all their information and help through websites. Now we know with websites, you have some good websites and some not very good websites. So as long as people know that there's a qualified person, a person that's capable, understanding, who can give us the right advice and guidance, then I think that's a great help to the entire community. So I want to make myself approachable.
MashaAllah. Well, we're just going to go for a quick break, and then afterwards we're just going to have a quick chat about community relations. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to the show so far. If you have any questions or anything, then please email, text in, or phone through. Email address is studio@gloucesterfm.com, or text in at 60066, or you can message us on Twitter, Facebook, or Google+. 6.6 FM. This is Shahid, and we're on live through on GFM until 12 p.m. Hope you've enjoyed the show so far. We've been playing a blend of nasheeds from all different cultures as such. We've had Adam Pandor, who's recently become a Hafiz, has fully memorized the Quran, and who recited a verse from the Quran for us. And we're in the middle of our interview with Gloucester's newest Imam Hasan. Before the break, Imam Hasan was telling us about his journey to become an Imam, and the progression that he's made through to being Imam for Hull, and the work that he's done, and also his plans for Gloucester. Now, I'd like to ask Imam Hasan about community relations and how we as Muslims can work together to build better community relations amongst our neighbours.
Well, let's look at society at large. There are people who are in need at different levels, whether it's through poverty or through lack of education or sufficient education, helping people find employment, help people start up businesses, or to help function any community project. People need to rally together, support each other, and it's very important we come together as one to build up these projects rather than every individual trying to develop their own organization without sufficient help or advice or expertise, then obviously over time these projects would run down and it wouldn't continue long term. But if we rally together, decide on one project and continue putting our efforts on that one project, then we could benefit more people.
I see. And before you was mentioning about some of the people who you've helped to advise, which again is important, you know, to as part of community relation, that we help people who are in need of help. Could you just?
Well, I can give you an example. Obviously, we have dozens of people coming for advice. Just a couple of months ago, I think it was mid-January, a Muslim lady came to me. It's irrelevant who the lady actually is, whether she's Muslim or from any other background. If someone needs help, you provide that help. So she happened to be a Muslim lady. She's just been divorced for the second time, and she came to me and she said, I feel God has chosen me to not be able to maintain a marriage, and I've had enough. I've got children, I've got a business to run, a house to run, and I'm unable to continue with this, and I want to take my own life. So she was feeling suicidal. She said, I want to kill myself because I can't take it anymore, because God has chosen for me not to be successful in maintaining a marriage. So obviously, as an imam, there's two ways of looking at it. One is you want to know the problems of people so that you're able to help them. But in an ideal world, it's not something you expect someone to come to you for, a problem such as that. Obviously, you're thinking, if I don't react right and they take their own life, I won't be able to sleep for the rest of my life. So it was a scary moment, and I knew my advice was very crucial. So that's just one example. And then you had another example, many examples with generally reverts. The number of reverts is rapidly increasing, and reverts are not sure of where to gain access to knowledge for their religion. So people would gain access from the internet or via people who have very little knowledge. So a revert is actually being recruited for the army, and he came to me and he said, I'm homosexual, I want to come to the mosque, but people at the mosque who know me may kick me out of the mosque or may slander me for being gay. So he said to me, this is my problem, I know you are approachable, what should I do in this situation? So I said to him, at the end of the day, when you visit a mosque, you're visiting a mosque to connect yourself to God. So you just focus on your primary objective, which is to connect yourself to God. And what happens next is between you and God. You correct your intention and do what's right.
I see. Okay, well, it's great to hear. I think, obviously, that that yourself, the Imam said to yourselves, again, be approachable to help people, because it's important. I would imagine it's important to be there available for the congregation, you know, for the community that you're serving, to help those with requests for advice, and especially with the, you know, with cases, you know, in dealing with reverts. Would you say that there's a lot more to be done? That there's a lot more to be done in helping those who've newly joined Islam?
I think it's very, very important, because the numbers increasing, the number of reverts. I was speaking to a vicar named Richard Atkins from the BBC, and I was saying to him, the number of reverts, because it's rapidly increasing, more and more people would need to then deliver knowledge to these individuals, and if we're not keeping up, then eventually down the line there will be an individual who maybe thinks to themselves they're practicing Islam, but in reality they're not practicing Islam, they're practicing something that's based on hearsay.
I see. Well, that's an issue that definitely needs to be considered. And do you have any thoughts, perhaps, as a community, things that we should be doing that perhaps, you know, to help those?
Well, I think the work you're doing is absolutely fantastic. Keep up with it, and if you have any advice for me, then please pass on that advice.
Of course, we'll jazakallah for that. And I think on that note, we'll call it a day. Obviously, you've been here, so it's getting very hot in the studio. So jazakallah for coming into the studio.
I'm humbled for the opportunity.
Just to let you know, we've had a few messages come in obviously over the course of this interview. One of which is from Chris. Chris Maltby, who mentioned, great to hear you, Imam Hasan, and great to have you in Gloucester. Respect for doing all this good community relations work. This is so much needed in these days of misinformation and negativity. Maybe God has sent you to do this work and promote understanding in our community. Hopefully our paths may cross and we can meet one day. Equally, just to prove that programs like the Iqra Show and Community Radio are vital to building strong, cohesive communities, and how important it is for everybody to work together, whatever their faith or religion. There's one more question. I know I said we were going to conclude, but one thing that I wanted to ask you is how important is it for us as Muslims in general to maintain interfaith dialogue?
Because the community becomes more diverse, and it generally comes through migration. So let's say, for example, that the community of Gloucester, especially this area, it's becoming very, very diverse. So it's important for each individual to not only understand their own religion or their own culture, but also understand the religion of others and the cultures of others. So let's say one person is from Africa and one person is from Arabia, and they're neighbours. If they're neighbours, they will have their different habits and their different cultures, and sometimes there will be a clash. So it's very important for both to understand the other.
Of course. Well, Jazakallah, and thank you very much for coming into the studio today. Look forward to speaking with you soon to discuss further topics over the course of the Iqra Show being broadcasted, and I'm sure our listeners have very much enjoyed.
Thank you very much, Jazakumullah.